Well, good day.
In today's video, we will be discussing the first cartoon appearance of that legendary DC Comics villain,
The Parasite. Or at least, I guess, a reasonable facsimile of him.
Yeah! Alright, let's go!
Oh yeah! So, we start off in Washington, D.C. in the Nuclear Science Institute laboratories. A thief named I.C. Harris, whose specialty is stealing radioactive isotopes, is in the lab looking for, well, radioactive isotopes. What he is not a specialist in is recognizing OSHA violations, horribly improper storage for radioactive materials, and the absolute lack of any protective equipment for handling said radioactive materials. But nonetheless, he persists. And he is looking through some radioactive storage canisters as if he was looking for cookies in a cookie jar, which makes me think he's been quite radiated a few times in his life and probably explains why he is going bald. But he's finally found something, and that something is a bombardment of radiation. Gee, who would have guessed, hey? My God, with that amount of radiation just pumping through him, like, this has got to be the shortest cartoon ever. Like, the dude's dead, right? Turns out, no. He doesn't even get a blister. Not only that, man, like, he feels great. He feels completely rejuvenated. So that's when one of the researchers shows up into the room to see what the whole commotion was about. And as a researcher, his first instinct is to fight. Fist to face, you know. But for some reason, it doesn't turn out that well for him. The closer he gets to Harris, man, the more he loses his energy and he just flat out faints. Most peculiar indeed. Not only that, but a security guard and some random guy in a suit showed up to fight Harris as well, and danged if that isn't the craziest thing you've seen, because the same thing happened again. As soon as they touch Harris, man, these guys pass out. So quickly, Harris realizes that, man, he's got some pretty awesome powers after that radiation blast. He feels as if he has the strength of 4 men. And he realizes that he absorbed the strength from these researchers and guys who were attacking him in the facility. Well, not attacking, no, trying to stop him. So with this newfound power, he does the only thing he can do. He goes on a crime spree. Meanwhile, Clark Kent is walking on a random road when it suddenly turns into a scene of a crime. Harris is robbing a financial institute. And when the police try to stop him, bam! He just steals their strength and they pass out. And this time without Harris even touching them. Holy crap, he's becoming more powerful. So Clark Kent figures he needs to intervene and... No, Clark, don't do it, man. You don't know. Crap, Clark didn't hear me. So as he tries to stop Harris, well, you guessed it, Harris is starting to absorb Clark's strength. And more strength, and more strength, and more strength. Harris realizes that a normal human being would have passed out by now, but this guy is still giving him power. So that's when he figures it out. This isn't a normal human. This must be Superman in disguise. Great Scott! So Clark is able to change into a Superman uniform and fly the hell out of there. But Harris is pissed. He wants all of Superman's powers. So he figures to draw Superman back to the fight by throwing a missile at the Washington Monument. Man, don't blow that thing up. You know how long it took for those guys to build it? Jeez. But he doesn't listen to me either, and in order to stop the monument from being destroyed, Superman turns the monument into the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and lets the missile fly by where it lands in a lake and doesn't explode. Good. And so yes, that leads to the confrontation. Superman versus I.C. Harris. Fight! And, well, yeah, it's not really that much of a fight. Basically, what's happening is that Harris is absorbing more of Superman's strength and then beating the crap out of him with his own strength. It's like when you grab someone's arms and you make them hit themselves in the face, like, stop hitting yourself. That's kind of what Harris is doing with Superman. But suddenly, Superman gets a brilliant idea. Harris is just a weak mortal no matter how much power he steals, so Soup decides to give all of his strength to Harris. He runs up to Harris where he gives him a big hug and holds on. And at first Harris is like, yeah man, I'm getting stronger. But then suddenly he's like freaking out. He's getting too much power. He can't handle it. He eventually escapes Superman's grasp and takes off. And he's running, and holy crap, man, he's starting to glow. He's getting brighter and, oh my god, he just exploded. Like that kid from the movie Powder, man, he's just gone. Well, I guess that's one way to tie up some loose ends there, hey, Superman? And so with that is the end of this fantastic tale.
So, yeah, that was Parasite. It's actually kind of funny, because the dude doesn't look a singular thing like Parasite from the comic books. So even knowing that, I was still kind of half waiting for Parasite to show up in this episode. So in the comic books, Parasite looks more like, let's say, Grimace from McDonald's, but if he started working out. But instead, we got Carl from the Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Whereas the comic book Parasite is purple and all that kind of stuff because he had so much radiation burns to his body, still this Icy Harris guy from the cartoon, he was still a pretty big guy. He was still pretty imposing, so he actually, was kind of intimidating. So, good for them on that. And I guess, technically you don't really have to look like a mutant or anything, to have these kind of powers, right? So I can accept these changes. But, why did they change the Parasite for this cartoon? I did read somewhere that the producers of the show didn't really want to scare kids with, someone who had, radiation burns and was purple. But, even then, you could have just, changed this guy's skin tone to purple and he could have, kept his hair and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it really would have been that terrifying. Heck, DC Comics has green skin characters like Brainiac or Martian Manhunter, Purple is a pretty hip color, so I'm pretty sure kids wouldn't have freaked out about that. And speaking of kids, watching this episode, they probably watched all through it and are like, wow, this stuff is so cool and it all makes sense. But as an adult watching it, you're like, man, if you have radiated isotopes, you're gonna need some more substantial, safe containers, than just a thin metal cookie jar on a shelf, And I'm pretty sure these canisters would be locked up or something. Also, if Icy Harris is a specialist in stealing, radiative isotopes, you would think he might know to bring some, personal protective equipment or something. At least some gloves, something. But nay, he's that good that he just avoids radiation. Until he doesn't. But that's the only kind of thing in the episode that kind of made me go, that's weird. Other than that, it's all good. What is it with characters in these Superman shows? If somebody figures out, Superman's identity of being Clark Kent, they tend to die at the end of the episode. Like, what the hell? That's some dark stuff, man. But nary a worry on that, because this actually was a pretty awesome episode, like I say. So if you haven't checked it out before, you know what? Do yourself a favor and look at it and enjoy it. But other than that, we do have some more information about Parasite and all that kind of stuff over here.
Yeah. So over the years, there have been many different variations of the character Parasite. But for the purposes of this, we are going to be talking about the original version. The one whose real name is Raymond Maxwell Jensen. Because at the time of this cartoon being released, he was the only one who was Parasite. Thus far. So, the Raymond Jensen version of the Parasite first appeared in Action Comics number 340 in 1966. The inspiration for this character came from grade 9 biology class. So the creator of the character, Jim Shooter, he was a kid in school learning about stuff, and they were learning about parasites and what they do. And he was like, man, one of these days I'm gonna become older and create comic book characters, and this Parasite idea is actually pretty awesome. And so he did just that. So this featured episode was pretty darn good, right? One of the reasons was because it was kind of loosely based on the origin issue of Parasite. Right? Similar things, just kind of different ways. So, in both stories, you had some guy who opened a container that he probably shouldn't have. He got radiated real good, like. He gained those fancy parasite powers. He went on a crime spree. With those powers, he found out that Clark Kent was Superman. He absorbed Superman's powers and beat the crap out of him before absorbing too much and exploding at the end. The main points of the story, you know, boom, 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 like pretty much exact, right? But some little twists hither and thither. So in the comics, Raymond Jensen was working at a research center where all of this radioactive material was. And this radioactive material was actually stuff that Superman found in a different galaxy, brought it back to Earth, you know, kind of cleaned it up, got it ready for the researchers to research it. Which explains why that one canister in the cartoon was labeled as Galaxy 4. And the really crazy thing about the story was that Jensen, for some reason, thoroughly believed that the company was hiding payroll information inside these containers. And he's like, well, geez, you know, I should get my hands on that stuff. So he opened up this container that said radioactive stuff, like don't frickin' open. And boom, right? Massive radiation burns, he turns purple, his skin kind of melts. Pretty hardcore, and he immediately started absorbing people's energies. Whereas for this cartoon, it's a completely different parasite, right? The person being I.C. Harris, he was created for this cartoon. He's a thief who steals radiated isotopes and got bombarded, didn't turn purple, and didn't have any damage to his skin, but still started to absorb people's energy like lickety-split. That's pretty much the biggest difference between the two stories, you know, the rest of it, yeah, is different, you know, but you're kinda more nitpicking than anything, you know? So in the cartoon, you know, I.C. Harris exploded, he's gone, you never seen him again in this cartoon series, but in the comic books, Jensen would make a return, and that happened in Action Comics number 361 in 1968. There was an alien who was doing some routine checks on Earth's atmosphere, I guess. He found this purple cloud, brought it onto a ship, and started to put the particles together, which of course reanimated Parasite. And he was back on the planet to reign terror again. That might seem like a crazy re-origin story, but you know, everything with this character, that makes perfect sense. But, you know, that's the basics on the character. Well, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, the only kind of other real difference, you know, was that in the cartoon, I.C. Harris absorbed people's energy and their strength. In the comics, Jensen could absorb people's strength and also their mental capacity. So if he absorbed, you know, someone who's really smart, he himself would be smart. But those powers would eventually kind of fade out. Whereas in the cartoon, it looks like the dude kind of keeps his strength the whole time. So yeah, that's it, man. That's the original Parasite. So it's good to see. So yeah, with this, that, those, and the other things, I guess that's that. Also, if you're interested, I created my own comic book channel, 215 Comics. And currently, I have created my own cartoon series, The Adventures of the Density. And recently started a radio series featuring my newest character, Elastomorph, with more titles to come. So if you want to check it out, I'll leave a link up top here to that channel and some links at the end of the video. Yeah! Right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, you know, feel free to do so. Or anything else, you know, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, you know, have a great day. Thanks.